I'm not a big fan of finding some random leftist's ridiculous tweet and then doing a segment about how insane these people are because it's low-hanging fruit. There are so many dumb people in general on Twitter. It's easy to pull up tweets from anybody, take them out of context, or just insult and smear. In this instance, though, I think we have something very important to discuss. David Atkins is contributor to @Monthly, and he says, regional director for California Democrats, elected DNC member. Okay. He's got his pronouns in his bio, and he says, no, seriously, how do you deprogram 75 million people? Where do you start? Fox? Facebook? We have to start thinking in terms of post-World War II Germany or Japan, or the failures of Reconstruction in the South. This is not your standard partisan policy disagreement. This is a conspiracy theory-fueled belligerent death cult against reality and basic decency. The only actual policy debates of note are happening within the Democratic coalition between left and center left. He says, I know conservatives are upset by some of the responses here. And yeah, many are out of line. But what do you expect people to do in self-preservation? The right has been running 4 years of F your feelings. My conspiracy theories are valid opinions, and we have more guns. He says, you can't run on a Civil War footing hopped up on conspiracy theories, hating everyone who lives in cities, mainlining Fox, Breitbart, and QAnon, threatening to kidnap governors and shoot protesters without people trying to figure out how to reverse the brainwashing. I mean, for Chris sakes, that's what he said, Chris sakes, conservatives are literally giving themselves COVID just to own the libs. They're dying in COVID wards, insisting they don't have COVID because it must be a liberal plot. People are going to try to figure out how to defend themselves. Talk about unhinged crackpot psychosis from an elected Democrat. Mitch McConnell is a boring old fogey who is not talking about any of this lunacy. I'm sorry. You are a Democrat from the Democratic Party, you say, and you think these crackpot conspiracy theories are real. I'm not talking about deprogramming a person like him, but I will tell you, when a crackpot like David Atkins starts calling for post-World War II Germany or Japan or Reconstruction because you're the crazy person, we got a serious problem. You would use the power of the state against those who don't live in your crackpot psycho world. Let me just show you how easy it is to break this down. He says, threatening to kidnap governors and shoot protesters. Right there. David Atkins has just proven he doesn't know what he's talking about. What do you do when the crackpot crazy people are the ones who are demanding they're in fact the sane ones and then demanding you be put in the asylum? I don't know, but I'll tell you this. The people who threatened to kidnap the governor were not right-wing Trump supporters. They did not like Trump. They marched with Black Lives Matter, but they were not leftists. They were fringe, conspiracy, anarchist types. The conspiracy thing, maybe you got that one right. But this guy thinks, because he reads fake news all day, that the lunatics in Michigan who hated Trump and marched with Black Lives Matter, for some reason, are aligned with Trump and hate Black Lives Matter. These people were more like Boogaloo Boys, anarchist, sovereign citizen type individuals, not Trump supporting conservatives who, for the most part, are okay with the power of the state. In fact, one of these guys has a big anarchy flag behind him. That right there shows this guy is a dangerous, misinformed conspiracy lunatic threatening the safety and stability of our nation. And I don't think he should be deprogrammed or put in a camp or anything like that. I think you're allowed to be crazy. Congratulations. You're nuts. You're on Twitter and you're saying insane things. And look at this. 8.7K retweets, 5.4 thousand quote tweets. Probably the quote tweets are from people who are saying this dude's crazy. Now he's not very smart and he's dangerously stupid. But tons of people are actually like agreeing with him. You can see people are tagging me in it. One person says, speaking only for my neck of the woods, allowing the Confederacy cult to go this long wasn't helpful. Actual treason shouldn't be a heritage with its own holidays and random statues all over public places. The Confederacy cult. Apparently this woman doesn't know anything about history and she doesn't know what actual treason is. But seeing the response to this, look, like I said, I'm not normally one to just pull up, random leftist Twitter accounts and then, drag them, I suppose, over stuff like this. But these people responding to this are nuts. They're calling for gulags, essentially. One person was like, now I'm beginning to understand why they had gulags. The left has already said, and this was revealed by Project Veritas, one of Bernie's volunteers said something like, when we win, we got to take these people and make them break rocks 12 hours a day so they can understand what it's like to be working class or something like that. I think it's funny that these ivory tower elites, upper middle class progressives are the ones who think it's other people who need to learn how to do work. But I'll tell you, here's the real problem. Not whether this guy's right or wrong in terms of what he believes. I mean, it matters that this guy's a crackpot conspiracy theorist who thinks that anarchists, anti-government anarchists are Trump supporters. He can't tell the difference because he lives in fake news world. That's a problem, too. Take a look at this. More than 3/4 of Donald Trump's voters say Joe Biden's victory was a fraud, poll finds. First of all, not entirely convinced these polls are real because we saw the historic margin of failure. What I can say, though, is the left can say that the Trump supporters are nuts. And I can say that guy's nuts. Okay, I think that guy is nuts saying you got to deprogram 75 million people and he has no idea what he's talking about. His facts are just wrong. The people who think Trump won, many of them are, they say there's evidence of fraud. I don't think we're that far yet. Sidney Powell is saying Trump won in a landslide. Sorry, I'm not convinced. Maybe, but show me the evidence. I've seen some evidence. Let's go through this and work through the courts and see what really happens. But I'll tell you this, two factions, absolutely in different realities. They don't agree on what is true and what is not. Clearly, the guy on the left doesn't know what he's talking about, but these people are not just going to disappear. Whether Trump wins or loses, whether Joe Biden becomes president or not, no matter who gets this. And it's probably, I think it's probably going to be Biden, but we'll see. I mean, Trump's odds have gone up a little bit. His betting odds in Vegas are up by like a point. That's funny. They think he's actually going to win the Electoral College. Or I should say it's going up because they think that's the probability. It's not that he wins through a coup or through the state legislature or something like that. But these people aren't going away. And they do not view each other as the same in terms of, like, the left views the right as insane that needs to be deprogrammed. And the right views the left as, actually, let me put it this way. The left thinks, liberals think conservatives are evil. Conservatives think liberals are misguided. That's enough. If the left thinks the conservatives are evil Confederates, white supremacists who want to kidnap people because they don't pay attention and they only get their news through the moron box, their cable news TV, well, then they're going to be grossly misinformed to a dangerous degree. If the people on the right think the left are just misinformed and misguided, they still might not allow the misguided to dictate who the president is going to be. And therein lies the worrying part about all of this. This guy's calling for something extreme. I mean, this guy is calling for deprogramming people. What he's really saying is he's a moron. He doesn't know anything about the news, and he wants you to be as dumb as he is. That's the problem with the Truth and Reconciliation Commissions. Who determines what is true and what isn't? There's a reason why we have free speech and a right to express our ideas, so that people like him can't round people up and deprogram them. That is scary. The real issue, in my opinion, is what Michael Malice refers to as the cathedral. To quote him quite a bit, because we had him on the show recently, the cathedral. These are people who are effectively, believing the nonsense that's espoused to them, and then they go and preach the good word of their tribe, even though it's not real. They don't live in reality. Certainly, there are Trump supporters who I believe also don't live in reality, but for the most part, the moderate right, disaffected liberals, are not this zealous bunch of lunatics who want to kidnap people. This guy just doesn't get real information, so he doesn't know better. Well-intentioned, but locked in the matrix, as it were. They say, a new Monmouth poll shows 77% of Donald Trump's voters believe Joe Biden only won the election due to some sort of fraud. The survey also showed that only 11% of Trump voters feel the election was fair and square, and 4% feel the results will be overturned. Only 4%. Wow, that's crazy. A second poll from Reuters Ipsos showed that 52% of Republicans think Trump rightfully won. So clearly we can already see that the polls are all over the place and make no sense. So I'm not necessarily going to trust them. If Monmouth is saying 77 and Reuters is saying 52, the point is, what happens when this guy, what happens if Joe Biden wins and this elected Democrat, and many of them start calling for commissions and tribunals and deprogramming? Do you think the people on the right are going to be like, well, I guess I'm going to go get deprogrammed down at the old gulag, or are they going to be like, come and take it? That's the scary thing. If there's two different realities and the left is increasingly calling for commissions and tribunals and deprogramming of people, do you think the right is going to sit back and just say okay to this? I don't. And that's what I'm worried about. Destabilization. Could you imagine what will happen if Trump actually reverses things, like he actually wins to the legal challenge? That, I think, would be the powder keg going off. All of this, we're sitting on this powder keg, and that's what I truly find to be worrying in the end of all of this. I really do feel like no matter who wins, we're going to see something. Something is happening. The air is thick, it's tense, and everybody knows it. Rich people have been fleeing to the middle of nowhere for quite some time. I wonder what they know that everyone else doesn't. I'll tell you this. I also fled to the middle of nowhere, sort of. We're building out stuff we want to expand, and it was opportune to say the least. But I definitely went to the middle of nowhere for the election period because I don't want to be around in case who knows what happens. So you know what I know, and maybe these other rich people know the same thing. They just have the means to prepare. I hope you've gotten ready for something. I don't know. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up in a few minutes. Stick around, and I will see you all shortly.